Hello everyone, my name is Keely. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today we're going to talk about the worst books I read in 2022. Now I'm actually really excited about this video because I have quite the controversial opinions and there are some very popular books on this list and I just don't understand how people love them, but you know, to each their own. Now normally I would talk about the top 10 books that were my least favorite, but I actually had 12 books I read this year that I rated 1 star, so I figured let's just talk about all 12 of them. So I'm actually going to talk about them in descending order, so we're going to start with my 12th least favorite and make our way all the way up to the worst book of 2022. So coming in at number 12, we have The Afterlife of the Party by Marlene Perez. So this is a vampire story, and you would think vampires, Keely, easy money right there. No, you'd be wrong. This book was not good. Okay, so we follow high schoolers, we follow 2 best friends, and they go to this concert. And one of the best friends ends up acting really weird after the concert, and it's because the band is vampires. And her best friend gets taken by this group of vampires, and so she has to go after them and try to save her best friend. So listen, this book wanted to be a fantasy romance book so bad. They threw witches in there, they threw vampires, but nothing was cohesive and nothing was fleshed out at all. The magic system and the vampire lore were so weak. We would just be given new information and they would expect us to be like, yeah, got it. But there was no explanation involved. Like, I had no idea what was going on because nothing was explained. You were just expected to know. I also really hated the characters. Like, girl, I get that she's your best friend, but just give up. Like, just give up. Also, this book read incredibly young, but then there were just like random mature, like really mature scenes thrown in there, and that's not something I want to read. I just don't appreciate how it was like a young reader book, and then there would just be mature content. Like, no thank you. I thought the writing was bad, the characters were bad, and the lore was really bad. So yeah, number 12 for me. Coming in at number 11, we have The Lake by Natasha Preston. Now this is an author that I know I will be disappointed with her books, but yet I keep picking them up because the synopsis sounds so interesting. So we follow 2 best friends, Esme and Kayla, and they grew up at this camp, and as they are getting older, they're teenagers now, they are invited back to be counselors in training. But when they were younger, something terrible happened at the camp, and they kept it a secret for so long, but now they are worried that somebody knows their secret and it's gonna get out. So you would think that this big secret that they are talking about is like awful, detrimental, and don't get me wrong, it was kind of bad, but at the time, if they had told someone, it wouldn't turn out as bad as what it is now. Like when the reveal happened, I was like, that's it? Like that's all that happened? Also, the best friend relationship between Esme and Kayla was so toxic and horrible, and I just think they should go their separate ways. They should not be friends, because if one of the friends is telling you something and the other one's like, I don't believe you, you're crazy. Like, that's not good friendship right there. There are so many examples in this book of them being toxic and why they should not be friends. And one thing that Natasha Preston consistently does is have bad endings, and this book was no different. It had a horrible ending, and I just remember feeling so dissatisfied by it. Coming in at number 10, we have Mirror in the Sky by Aditi Khurana. Now this is set in the real world, except in this real world they discovered another planet. And on this planet it is said to be a mirror planet because everyone that lives on our Earth also lives on that planet and they are living similar lives. And so scientists are trying to figure out if that mirror planet can tell us anything about what's happening to our world. But this book had literally nothing to do with that mirror planet. Like, as soon as it was introduced, it was like, okay, now forget everything you know because we're not even going to talk about the planet. Like, I wanted so much more sci-fi. I wanted to know about that planet. I wanted to see the mirror people that they were talking about, but we never saw it. Instead, we follow this high schooler, Tara, and her best friend has just moved away, and so Tara's trying to fit in. And how does she fit in? By following peer pressure. All she does throughout the book is fall into peer pressure and then complain about it. Like, there would be so many times her new friends would tell her to do something and she would be like, no. And then the next scene, she's doing it. Like, girl, stand up for yourself. I don't understand how you're constantly falling into these toxic behaviors just because you want to fit in. Like, couldn't be me. I understand that's a thing, but she kept doing it and the whole book was just her complaining, and she was such an annoying character. And if I don't like a character, I'm not gonna like the book. And I just hate how the mirror planet was such a big thing in the synopsis and how you thought it was going to be a integral part of the story, and it never was. We have no idea what that planet is. It could still be up there, and we have no idea. Coming in at number 9, we have Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark, and if I could describe this book in one word, it would be confusion, because I had no idea what happened. So this book is apparently about a group of people who are fighting demons. So this is set in 1915 when the KKK is at its highest power, and we follow these people who are taking down some of the KKK members because they are actually demons from another world. So that sounds really interesting. I love horror, so I was really hoping this would be horrifying because it does come from real life horrifying events such as the KKK. But unfortunately, like I said, I was so confused. I thought I was losing brain cells. I did not understand this writing at all. To me, the writing was incredibly bad, and I don't know if this is a translated work and I just got lost in translation or what it was, but I was losing brain cells. I did not understand anything that was happening. Every time the characters would speak, I would have to reread the pages over and over because I had no idea what they were talking about. I had no idea who any of the characters were, and now let me just tell you, a lot of people love this book, so this confusion is probably fully on me. Like, I might just be too dumb to read this book, but I just did not have a great time. Coming in at number 8, we have The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis, and we follow a high schooler named Alex, and 3 years earlier, when her sister was raped and killed, Alex went and killed her murderer because he was never arrested. Now Alex knows that she cannot be trusted around other people because she just enjoys killing too much, and she tries to go and fix the evilness of the world, basically. But I just did not like this book. I thought this was going to be so interesting. I thought Alex was going to be so cool, but I just didn't think that we got enough of that good for her, you know? Like, I wanted to see her going out there and killing bad guys, and I just really didn't see that a lot. This book also had a lot of peer pressure in it, just like Mirror in the Sky, and I just did not care about that. I really just wanted to see Alex out there killing bad guys, and we did not get that, and I was just left so unsatisfied by this book, and was let down because I was so excited for the good for her book, and we just didn't get it. Coming in at number 7, we have The Merciless Ones by Namina Forna, and this was such a letdown for me. This is book 2 in the Gilded One series, and I loved the first book so much, so I was really looking forward to the sequel, but unfortunately, the sequel felt like a completely different story to the first one. So in the first book, we follow 16-year-old Decca. This is a fantasy world, and in this world, at 16, you have a blood ceremony. If your blood runs red, you're good to go, but if the blood runs gold, then you are said to be evil and need to be killed. So of course, Decca's blood runs gold, and she is imprisoned, and in prison, a woman comes to her in the night and says, you can stay here and die, or you can come with me and join a group of female warriors. So Decca goes and joins these warriors, and they have to kill these monsters, save the world, all that stuff. However, this book felt like nothing like the first book. The writing itself felt so different, and I hated the way that this was written. We were in Decca's head the whole time. In the first book, I loved Decca. In this second book, she came across as weak and naive, and I just did not care for her because she was always second-guessing everything, and she was just so scared of everything. In the first book, she seemed so strong, and in this book, she was the complete opposite of that. There were also so many new things introduced in this book that were never explained, and it just felt so different because we never saw them in the first book, and then suddenly they appeared and we were expected to know. We were thrown so much new information and knowledge, it was so hard to keep up, and I just hated all the characters that I had loved previously, and I will not be continuing with this series because this book was such a letdown. I will still keep it because these books are beautiful. Coming in at number 6, we have That Summer by Sarah Dessen. This was actually a reread for me, and I remember reading it the first time and thinking this was my least favorite Sarah Dessen book, and this reread solidified this is her worst book of all time. This is actually her first book, so it makes sense, and it's good to know that she has improved so much. But we follow a character named Haven, and basically everything around her is changing. Now, Haven is a terrible character. I really did not like her. She was so whiny, and she is really young, and so that might explain it, but I just did not care to read from her. Like, we get it, life changes, like, people get married, I understand, life is hard, but I hated being in her head because she was so whiny, and it's just maybe because I am 27 now, and reading from, I don't know how old she is, 12, 13, but even when I read it years and years ago, I remember not liking it, so this is definitely her weakest book, but I just remember being so angry and annoyed, and every time someone would yell at Haven, I was like, yeah, I get it. Okay, now we are in my top 5 worst books of 2022. Coming in at number 5, we have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. So I'm sure you've heard of this one. We follow Jude and Cardan, and we are in the world of fairy. This is enemies to lovers. Cardan is a terrible, terrible fairy with a tail, and Jude is a human girl that lives in the land of fae. And let me tell you, I hate fairies so much, and I do not understand why everyone is so obsessed with them. They are repulsive and disgusting and despicable, and you can't trust a word that comes out of their mouth. Like, why do people love that? Why? I don't get it. Like, please explain it to me. In my head, they are not attractive. They are just like these like little ugly creatures that are just mean and repulsive. And I understand some of them have the glamour and they're supposed to be described as attractive, but in my head all I picture is repulsiveness, because even if you have a beautiful face, if your personality's ugly, I can't do it. Also, the main character in this, Jude, oh my gosh, one of the worst characters that I've ever read. Like, I cannot stand her. Like, why do y'all love her? She is so horrible and so annoying, and I just don't like her. And then I also think she has a twin sister who is also despicable. Like, oh my gosh, and I just want her dead so bad. Like, all these characters, I wish it would just be like, and they were all dead, and I would be so happy about it. I just hated this so much. The romance was awful, not to mention the first line of this book is about ketchup, which is repulsive in itself, but I just don't get why everyone's obsessed with fairy. Please enlighten me, because I just will never get it. Coming in at number 4, we have Maybe Not by Colleen Hoover, and this is a novella set in the Maybe Now series, and all the series is a bunch of cheating and toxic relationships, and this novella was no different. The 2 characters we follow in here are so gross. Like, I don't want to hear them talk. Like, please close your mouth. But the sad thing is that these characters are not as bad as the main ones, but I still hated them, so it still makes this list. Now, following that up with number 3, we have Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover, and this is the first book in that series. We follow a girl named Sydney, and she has just been cheated on by her boyfriend, who they live together, and so now she has to figure out where to live. And for days and days beforehand, her across-the-way apartment neighbor, Ridge, would stand on his balcony and play guitar, and she kind of would stand there and listen, so they formed like this little friendship even though they've never met, and so she goes and moves in with Ridge, but Ridge is in a committed relationship for years and years, and Sydney's living with him, and you can see where this is going. There's just so much cheating, and Miss Colleen over here, like, there have been some books of hers that I love. This book, she excuses the cheating. Like, Sydney, if you've been cheated on and had your heart broken, why would you go and put yourself in that position where you're the other girl? Like, go get a hotel or something. Go find a new friend. You don't need to be living with someone that's in a committed relationship. Ugly. Like, that's just ugly and disgusting. Like, I know she has another book called Ugly Love. This is Ugly Love because both of these characters are just ugly people. Like, who would allow that? I just hated it so much because I just hate the cheating trope. Like, and this whole book is nothing but cheating. That's all it is, and she's trying to redeem it. You cannot redeem cheating. Coming in at number 2. Oh, you're about to be so mad. People are about to be so mad. Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. This is book, I don't know, too many in the Throne of Glass series, and it's so bad. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. So many people say this is their favorite book in the series. It's huge, and I hated every second of my life reading this. Okay, this book really opened my eyes to how people just fall over Aelin. They are all little puppy dogs for Aelin, and I don't get it. She is so narcissistic and so full of herself, and she's not that cool. Like, listen, she's not, okay? She thinks that only she can have good ideas. Like, at one point, Dorian had a good idea, and she got so mad at him. Like, only she can come up with ideas, okay? We can only do what Aelin tells us to do. We can't have our own thoughts. We can't have our own minds. Only Aelin's rule is okay. No, thank you. Also, Rowan? Ew, disgusting. I already told you I hate the Fae, and Rowan is the epitome of hating the Fae. He's so gross. The way he's described, like this big, muscly, like immortal being. Excuse me. No, thank you. That is so gross. I do not like that. And now Dorian and Lysandra were 2 characters that I actually really liked in the series. After this book, lost all respect for them. No respect for you. No thank you. I just hated this so much. And the way this ended, I was like, good, because I don't want to see her face. You know, I just don't want to see. I am anticipating not liking the last one, so I'm probably gonna film my reaction to reading it because I think it's gonna be hilarious for me, myself, and I. But yeah, this was not good, people. Sorry. Sorry. And coming in at number 1, a lot of people are gonna be mad about this too because a lot of people love this book, and that is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. Oh, you're loving this book? Literally every time someone says that they love this book, every other opinion they have does not matter to me. Like, that sounds so mean, but I'm like, you love that book? Are you okay? What? So this book follows like a college reunion. When they were in college, one of their best friends was murdered. Another one of their best friends was accused of the murder, but of course they didn't murder said best friend. And so now they're all getting together, and the best friend that was murdered, her brother shows up and is like, it's one of you people. These are some of the most toxic people I've ever seen in my entire life, and I hated every character. I hated all of them. The relationships were disgusting, and the fact that they were all best friends and so quick to turn on each other, like there were so many scenes where they'd be like, that person murdered her, and they'd all be like, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. And then another scene they'd be like, oh, it wasn't that person, it was that one over there, and they'd be like, oh yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, I get it. Best friends? Excuse me? I don't get it. I just don't get it. This was so bad, and I hated every second. And when the murderer was revealed, I was like not even surprised because any one of them could have done it and I would have believed it. So I didn't feel any shock because I was like, okay, they were all terrible. Like, who's gonna kill them, you know? But yeah, worst book of 2022, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. Okay, so those are my top 12 worst books of 2022. I am really sorry if you love these books. I still love you and we can still be friends, but I just don't get it, okay? And I'm really sorry. This was a lot more ranty than I thought it was gonna be. I did not expect to like lose my mind, but some of these books made me feel like I was losing my mind reading them. But get it, like we all have different opinions. I get it, and I love you for it. But these are mine, and I'm so sorry because I get my feelings hurt really easily. So if I watch somebody rant about one of my favorite books, I get so upset. And so I'm really sorry if you're upset by any of these decisions, but if you agree, let me know and we can like bash some of these books together. It's okay to bash books. You know, these works of art, they're still works of art, even if they're bad works of art. They're out there for us to share our opinions. That's what we do as readers and reviewers. So yes, these were my 12 rants of the year. Let me know your worst book for 2022. I would love to know. Unless it's one of my favorites, then I don't want to know. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave the fire emoji. Sure, fire emoji. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, all my social media links will be down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!